Well, hello everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. So my name is Angel Ramirez, and I'm going to be translating all the mañaneras for Mr. Lopez Obrador. Today is Friday, Casual Friday, so there's no tie this morning, no tie. So we'll see what we have. Apparently, it is the mañanera is not on yet for some reason, but we're going to be here waiting. Okay, so hopefully that you have the time to stay with us and that we can listen to something. For example, these guys in La Mañanera, they're really good. Sin Censura TV, so it's really, really wonderful to be able to work next to them and make sure that all the information gets out. So we're going to be here for a little bit. Hopefully that you stay with us, okay? So we'll be right back in just a second. Okay, so they're telling us that this is going to start at around 8 a.m. in about 40 minutes, 38 minutes or so. So we'll see you then. Thank you all for coming in. We'll see you in about 40 minutes. Thank you.
notas sobre ella y asumiéndola como culpable, como lo han hecho en esta campaña en los medios de comunicación corporativos, para atacarla no solo a ella, sino al gobierno de López Obrador. Entiendo eso, pero hay que ser muy honestos. Es necesario que se establezca esa libertad de expresión, que digan lo que digan. Si uno es inocente, pues es inocente. El que nada debe, nada teme. Y aquí en Sin Censura siempre vamos a luchar por eso, por la libertad de expresión, porque no exista la censura de ninguna forma. En eso estamos convencidos aquí en Sin Censura. Le voy a pedir a don David que nos grabe. Antes de cualquier cosa, acuérdese, hoy sí hay conferencia de prensa mañanera, es en Hermosillo, Sonora. No sé, don David, si puede estar revisando por ahí. Ya están abiertas las pantallas, pero todavía no comienza. Es en Hermosillo, Sonora, donde hay un uso horario distinto. Tienen el horario de la montaña. Y en cualquier momento ya estará comenzando la conferencia de prensa mañanera. No me gustaría empezar con la siguiente nota y que nos interrumpieran por ahí, así que le voy a pedir a don David que por favor nos comparta en nuestras redes sociales. Y si todavía no comienza, pues tenemos muchas más notas, ¿eh? No, de ahí para dar y regalar. De hecho, para que incluso que no hubiera mañanera y continuáramos con notas de aquí hasta las 2 de la tarde, ¿eh? Para que vea. Pero bueno, don David, por favor, comparta nuestras redes sociales.
Claro que sí, mi estimado Toño, así es. Hay muchas noticias, las noticias nunca acaban, como había una canción, creo que las mujeres nunca se acaban, no sé cómo va el dicho, pero era una canción que la cosecha de mujeres nunca se acaba. Creo que así era. Pero bueno, saludos a toda la gente. Ya son más de 20,700 personas conectadas en estos momentos. La verdad, estamos muy, muy, muy contentos por ese apoyo de toda la gente que pues siga Sin Censura, que está siempre en sintonía. Nada más recordarles que alcen la voz, que compartan la transmisión para que lleguemos a las 30,000. ¿Por qué no? Todo es posible en esta vida. Así que mientras que ustedes nos sigan apoyando, hay Sin Censura para rato. Estamos transmitiendo a través de Sin Censura TV, Sin Censura Media y Sin Censura Presenta. Eso en la plataforma de YouTube. En Facebook estamos transmitiendo a través de Noticiero Sin Censura, a través de Sin Censura con Vicente Serrano y a través de Sin Censura Presenta. Ya saben, seguir al buen don Vicente en su cuenta de Twitter, que es @Vicente Serrano, en donde va a encontrar pues todo lo que está pasando al momento desde allá, desde Brooklyn, Nueva York, donde se encuentra nuestro queridísimo don Vicente, pues adentro de la corte, esperando pues cuál va a ser pues el resultado, ¿no?, de ese juicio del siglo, como muchos le llaman, de Genaro García Luna. Así que todo eso, toda esa información la va a encontrar aquí en Sin Censura. Ya en un ratito más llegará el presidente con su conferencia y pues por supuesto don Vicente también, porque esto va para largo. Son las 8:11 de la mañana, es viernes 17 de febrero, qué rápido se van los días, pero muy contentos por ese cariño, por ese apoyo y por estar aquí con todos ustedes. Así que nuevamente le paso una vez más los micrófonos y las cámaras a mi estimado amigo Antonio Ruiz para seguir con más noticias aquí en Sin Censura.
Vamos con muchas más noticias. Le quiero pedir a usted, don David, que nos grabe esto. Obviamente esto pasado no va. Hay algo que nos duele muchísimo aquí en Estados Unidos y que no podemos dejar pasar. Es algo que el mismo presidente López Obrador ha mencionado una y otra vez en su conferencia de prensa mañanera. Y que aquí en Sin Censura hemos denunciado desde que comenzó este esfuerzo de periodismo libre e independiente, por supuesto siempre pensando en los paisanos que aquí viven en Estados Unidos, pero después se extendió obviamente a todo México. Sin embargo, sí quiero decirle que para nosotros es muy, muy, muy importante también la defensa a los inmigrantes, de cualquier raza, de cualquier nacionalidad. Las razas no existen, ¿no? Pero de cualquier etnia, de cualquier nacionalidad, de cualquier origen. Hay que siempre luchar por esas personas que lo único que buscan es una vida mejor para ellos y para sus familias y que están provocando definitivamente la evolución humana. Si no hubiera inmigración, pues los seres humanos viviríamos todavía en África. Ha sido gracias a la migración que nos hemos distribuido por la tierra. Esa es nuestra realidad. No es un fenómeno, no es un problema, no es una situación política o sociológica, es una realidad de evolución humana, es hasta biológica la inmigración. Así debería ser entendida. No se puede comparar la inmigración a un país como la invasión a una casa, ¿no? Eso no es así. Hay diferencias claras entre una propiedad privada y entre un país que tiene soberanía, gobierno y Estado, ¿no? Es una situación completamente distinta. Y por eso es que siempre vamos a defender el derecho de las personas para pues vivir en donde ellos lo deseen, en donde ellas lo deseen. Está incluso contenido en la Carta de Derechos Humanos. Es un derecho fundamental de los seres humanos, el poder desplazarse y vivir donde nos dé la rechiflada gana, en definitiva. Y desafortunadamente, como es una situación que ocurre desde el principio de los tiempos, se ha utilizado así mismo, desde el principio de los tiempos en la política. Vamos, desde la Grecia antigua se condenaba al extranjero, ahí nació la idea de la xenofobia, se le condenaba con razones políticas. Se ha utilizado a la inmigración como moneda de cambio para los políticos. Es muy fácil para la humanidad, para nosotros como humanidad, culpar a otros de nuestros propios errores o de nuestros propios fracasos. Y cuando había situaciones preocupantes en una región, en un país, era muy fácil decir, pues es culpa de los extranjeros, pues es culpa de los que acaban de llegar, pues es culpa de los que quieren venir a esta región, a esta tierra, ¿no? Se utilizaba así desde siempre y los políticos se aprovechaban siempre de esto para obtener votos, le digo, desde la Grecia antigua, desde cuando se crea el concepto de la xenofobia. Es tan básico que ha sido utilizado una y otra y otra y otra vez en la historia del mundo. Últimamente, pues ha tenido resultados muy funestos, como la presidencia de Donald Trump. Los republicanos durante muchas décadas fueron proinmigrantes, como defensores del mercado libre y de la explotación de trabajadores. Para ellos siempre ha sido muy importante que exista mano de obra barata. Y los republicanos siempre defendieron que llegaran inmigrantes indocumentados aquí a los Estados Unidos por la necesidad de la mano de obra barata. Hay una escasez absoluta en estos momentos de mano de obra aquí en Estados Unidos, mano de obra no tan calificada, de laborers, así se le llama en inglés. Y lo saben ellos, lo saben los republicanos, lo saben los demócratas, lo sabe el pueblo de los Estados Unidos, lo saben los empresarios, pero se utiliza el concepto única y exclusivamente para la política. Cuando se convirtió una vez más en algo en lo que los estadounidenses podían culpar sus fracasos, Donald Trump aprovechó el momento histórico y así inició su carrera hacia la presidencia, asegurando que nosotros los mexicanos y los inmigrantes pues éramos violadores, asesinos, narcotraficantes, que nada más veníamos aquí a esta tierra a destruir. Y con eso se ganó los votos de mucha gente ignorante, obviamente, ¿no? Que está en contra de la apertura, de la tan necesaria diversidad en este país. Hay una necesidad absoluta de diversidad en este país. Y este país, los Estados Unidos, existe y es tan grande gracias a nosotros los inmigrantes. Pero desde el principio de su fundación, así se compone Estados Unidos gracias a la inmigración. No lo pueden negar. Uno de los pelmazos que ha estado utilizando esta estrategia política tan básica es el gobernador de Florida, Ron DeSantis, disculpe usted, Ron DeSantis, un personaje que ha sido comparado con otras figuras fascistas de la historia y quien, pues, vamos, valiéndose de su poder, ha trasladado, como si se tratara de un coyote o de un traficante de personas, a inmigrantes a otros estados. Nuestros amigos de la Jornada Sin Fronteras, que encabeza nuestro queridísimo Jaime Hernández, reportan que ya le dieron poderes estatales al gobernador de Florida para que pueda hacer esto con todas las de la ley. Ayer se lo adelantábamos aquí en Sin Censura y consideramos que ahora es importante que le ampliemos al respecto, porque insisto, es solamente una atleta política fascista para conseguir votos de la gente ignorante, de la gente que cree que verdaderamente su vida está amenazada o su futuro está amenazado porque llegue otra persona, ¿no? Cuando le digo, es absolutamente necesaria la diversidad y el trabajo que ofrecen los inmigrantes en esta gran tierra. Voy a compartir esta nota de nuestros compañeros de la Jornada Sin Fronteras. Dice, la legislatura de Florida ha autorizado al gobernador Ron DeSantis el poder de reubicar a los inmigrantes desde cualquier lugar de Estados Unidos, ampliando una controvertida iniciativa que el republicano utilizó el año pasado para llevar migrantes desde Texas hasta Massachusetts. Debe ser desde Florida, ¿no? A lo mejor aquí hubo un error de nuestros compañeros porque también el gobernador de Texas, hago el paréntesis, Greg Abbott, ha tomado esta estrategia básica y fascista para incrementar su popularidad y así buscar junto con Ron DeSantis la nominación republicana para la candidatura a la presidencia. Los dos están en las mismas cosas, ¿no? Bueno, dicen nuestros compañeros de la Jornada Sin Fronteras. La legislación fue aprobada por la Cámara de Representantes de Florida en una votación de acuerdo con las líneas de cada partido. El proyecto de ley, que ha sido aprobado por el Senado Estatal de mayoría republicana, firmado y promulgado por DeSantis este miércoles. Florida está utilizando todas las herramientas disponibles para proteger a nuestros ciudadanos de las políticas de frontera abierta de Biden, señaló en Twitter tras la firma. Mire lo que son las cosas. En estricto sentido, pues Florida no tiene una frontera con otro país. Separa con un mar completo a Florida de, por ejemplo, el Golfo de México o de Cuba, ¿no? Sí están cerca, pero Florida no está en la frontera, ¿no? O sea, esa es la realidad. Y esto, pues, así sataniza este fascista, Ron DeSantis, a los inmigrantes, que él lo sabe, ellos lo saben. Se dicen muy cristianos aparte de todo, ¿no? Y se dicen pro vida incluso, pero están a favor de la pena de muerte, a favor de las deportaciones, a favor de la separación de familias, ¿no? Se dicen muy, muy cristianos y saben perfectamente la necesidad de los inmigrantes en esta gran tierra. Pero aún así, satanizan al inmigrante al decir, Florida está utilizando todas las herramientas disponibles para proteger a nuestros ciudadanos de las políticas de frontera abierta de Biden. Dice, me complace haber firmado esta legislación para continuar con el programa de transporte de extranjeros ilegales a jurisdicciones santuario. Agradezco a la legislatura por mantener esta valiosa herramienta, apostilló el gobernador. Y yo le digo una y otra vez, eso de un ser humano ilegal no existe. No existe. No existe. Ninguna persona en su condición jurídica es ilegal. Mire, ni Genaro García Luna, o sea, ahora que está siendo juzgado y que ha sido presentado con una serie de pruebas como un criminal, como un hombre, así lo han presentado, ¿no? Que conspiró para traficar cocaína en los Estados Unidos. Ni siquiera él, si es declarado culpable, es una persona ilegal. Nuestra condición jurídica no puede ser ilegal. E insisto, además de todo, la Carta de Derechos Humanos estipula, si no me equivoco, en su artículo 6º, 7º, que como seres humanos podemos elegir nuestro lugar de residencia sin que nos lo determine una frontera o un país o un estado, ¿no? Yo insisto hasta el cansancio, es una cuestión biológica, humana, no política, dicen en la nota. Los legisladores estatales están celebrando una sesión especial para avanzar en varios proyectos de ley que son prioridades para DeSantis, prioridades políticas, prioridades electorales, quien ha construido un perfil nacional explotando el malestar sobre temas culturales de cara a una esperada candidatura a la nominación presidencial del partido El Personal.
En Sonora, aquí en Hermosillo, llevamos a cabo algunas actividades y hoy emprendemos una gira terminando esta conferencia. Vamos a Peñasco, vamos a inaugurar ya una primera etapa de la planta de generación de energía solar.
Solar panel plants.
Es algo muy importante, es una muy buena noticia. Esa planta, cuando esté totalmente terminada, va a ser la más grande en generación de energía eléctrica mediante la utilización solar en toda América Latina. Entonces
we are an entire Latin America.
En Peñasco,
That's where we're going to be in Peñasco. And in the afternoon, we're going to be in Nogales as well for all that works that has been done in that frontier zone and from other states.
Mañana vamos a inaugurar un camino en Bavispe. Vamos también a tratar el tema.
We're going to inaugurate some ways in Bavispe, the lithium situation.
De la carretera Chihuahua-Guaymas. El domingo vamos a estar.
And Sunday we're going to be in the Yaqui towns. We're
domingo 19 de febrero, que
February
se conmemora un
19,
más de la creación del ejército
and the creation of the Mexican Army we're going to be celebrating as well.
Santa Lucía.
We're going to be headed to Santa Lucia,
the
Santa Lucia Airport, Felipe Ángeles. In this location, there's going to be a homage to the Mexican Army. That is the plan. That's what we're going to be doing. And so we're going to be here for a while in Sonora. And we're going to keep visiting this great state of the Republic, where we have the collaboration, the backup, and the conjoint assistance of Alfonso Durazo, governor, who is a professional, and he is really responsible, our partner, where we understand really good what's going on, and that is why we are joining forces for the inversion, investments, works, infrastructure. We're going to be taking care of that as well. There has never been before enough money destined for the government of Sonora as it is now in different projects. All right, I've extended myself on the introduction, but now we'll give the word to the governor, and then General Sandoval will be informing about the security situation in the states. Thank you, Mr. President. With your permission, good morning. Young people today, thank you for being here. First of all, want to thank and receive with the recognition, gratitude, and dearness, as always, our presidents, and to receive Secretary of State of Governments, and reiterate that we are very happy with you, Mr. President. The partners of cabinet of the president remind you that this is the visit number 24 that the president does here in Sonora. In each of those visits, there's testimony. There are words said, but also facts that accredit of every compromise that the president has made in this tour of, that is the number 4 tour, number 34. It is very exceptional. In every visit, we have said it, and we'll say it again, and we are getting adjusted to a historical visit, and this will not be the exception. The president has stated as some of the things that we're going to be doing, but I want to reiterate a few more things from the things that are going to be done. For example, yesterday we've had some events related to the Bienestar Bank. There's 20 of them constructed. Some of them are still under construction so that we can get to 68 locations for the new Bienestar Bank, plus 5 that were already existing in Bansefi, that we're going to have 73 locations of Bienestar. I am not going to detail the locations where these are found, but I will say that the great majority of them are in municipalities that ever did they think that they would have financial services as the ones being offered by Bienestar Bank. These are locations where any other government, and not to mention any president, has ever turned and looked at them. Today we have the cabinet security reunion. Of course, there was the situations that we still have pending when it comes to security, but also recognize the advancements that we have accomplished. Most important one is the reduction of 10% of homicides. I want to recognize the service of the Marines, National Guard, and the Army in their great participation of their work and their disposition, extraordinary disposition to allow us to have an optimal coordination. And I can say as well that the security location in Sonora, the security people in Sonora are serious about what they do. I'm going to mention the photovoltaic park in Sonora. It's a great installation, brand new. In international levels, it will state a new time in energy efficiency, as well in national levels. The president was very much questioned 2 years ago, maybe, about the supposed abandonments that he had to the renovation energy of clean energy. But I want to remind you that in 2012, in Obregón, you mentioned that you would turn Sonora into the model, strategic model, for the generation of clean energy during your time. So that's why I speak about a word that is determined and that a compromise that has complied, because this power plant represents the first step of Plan Sonora, that it is energy, sustainable energy, that will put our state and our country in the vanguard of the fights against climate change, the impulse of the lesser carbon emissions that we have, and will set us in front of the energetic transition worldwide. In Nogales as well, we're going to be speaking about the modernization of the border in general, but I would like to stick out that we will take advantage as well of revising the modernization of 5 border points of our country, or our state: San Luis Rio Colorado, Sonorita, Nogales, Naco, and Agua Prieta. The objective of this modernization, together with other works in the states, is precisely efficientize the exchange, commercial exchange from U.S. to Mexico, Mexico to U.S. through Sonora. We will check the advancements that we have for the relocation of the railways that in this moment is tearing the city of Nogales in two. So we'll fix that, and then we'll go to the inauguration of Bavispe Road. I want to stick out as well, in particular to the press in Mexico, that this road has been thought of in 1933. There's a petition to President Rodolfo Elias Calles and a negative from the governor to this petition, and the Treasury of the States corresponds as well to the same negative response, but provides 500 pesos for the funds that was required in those times for the construction of the road. In Vaca de Huachi, there will be a historical visit. President, as you know, has taken the decision to conservate lithium as country's patrimony. It's the biggest reserve of lithium in the country and will integrate the state to the Sonora economy and the benefits of the new technologies, and particularly let's recognize from the president that he has imposed as a condition to any company that is looking for association with Litio MX for the advanced for the reusement of the chain of production that we'll be having in this state, and this is why the visit to Vaca de Huachi. And finally, we'll be in Tecoripa, Puerto de Guaymas, and inform you, Mr. President, that we will be giving you very good information about the advancements of the 13 fronts that we have open, and particularly the advancements in the modernization of Guaymas, Chihuahua, that will be modified. It will be modifying the movement of merchandise from Chihuahua to the countries of the Pacific. And in Sunday, we will be in the region Yaqui to present the advancements of Plan of Justice Yaqui that talks about the compromises of the lacking of backing of these people. They say that love gets paid with returned with love, so we want to recognize a social leader that we follow and we back with all compromise. 70% of the Sonoran people recognize the triumph of his presidency. I think I would want it to be 100% if Sonoras, but anonymity is suspicious, so we'll stay with that 70% that fills us with compromise. I reiterate that the state of Sonora will work with all effort to convert this state in a fundamental pillar of the fourth transformation of Mexico. With your permission, Mr. President, very good morning. We will be informing of the situation of security here in the Sonora States. With the first lights. In Sonora, a state with 2.9 inhabitants, number 18 nationally, with the second place in national when it comes to square kilometers, 179,554, 1.6 million population in 3 municipalities, Cajeme and Nogales and Hermosillo. That is 56%. And when it comes to delinquencies, we have what is homicides with the 7th place, going up as well. Transportation robbery is going up. And extortion is going up as well with the 25th place. And going down, vehicle theft is going down. Kidnapping as well is going down. We're going to see each one of them. In December, they had 564 events. In December is the month that we have the entire information, completed information, in conformity that the Secretary of Security provides. The tendency marks that is going up, 7th place in national. But here we can mention that in comparison to the 21 of 22 of last year, tendency is marking down actually. The vehicle theft, 182 events with as well heading down. Next one. Next one is transportation theft. There was only one event of this nature, the 20th place, but its tendency is going up from the states with lesser of these types of thefts. The house robberies are heading up, but it's also with the 23rd place with lesser robberies of this type. Kidnapping is on the 24th. There was none in December. Its tendency is going down. Next one is extortion, 25th place. 4 events in December. Tendency is to go up in extortion, but as well as the other ones are very few in comparison to the rest of the states. In between people, there was no delinquencies of this in national. The human trafficking in total 1,306 in December. Tendency is identified on with any delinquencies of impact at 21st place, comparing the 21st with the 22, tendency is going down.
Aquí es el trabajo que se realiza por todas las entidades que se encargan en el ámbito de la seguridad pública. En cuanto a homicidios dolosos por entidad federativa,
when it comes to homicides per state entity, this state has a 7th place nationally with 5,504 homicides, and being the average 3,604. This homicides is still in 7th place with 187 being the average of 99. When it comes to the municipalities with most delinquencies, when it comes to homicides, robbery of vehicles, and narco trafficking, there are 4 states that correspond to the 75% of what is the total of events, delinquency events in the states. What is Hermosillo, Cajeme, Rio Colorado, Guaymas, that's where it is concentrated. But as we're going to see in the next spreadsheet, the instances of public security are there with a presence, important presence in those municipalities. We have the security forces, public security, 5,203 in the territory, but concentrated, as I mentioned, in the municipalities where there are more incidences: Hermosillo, Cajeme, Nogales, Navajoa, San Luis Rio Colorado. That's where you can find those members generating conditions of security for the citizens as well. We have 2,520 cameras located as the C5 system that assists in question of security. When it comes to federal forces, we have a total of operating of 7,871 elements. From those, 2,647 are from National Guard and 964 from Marines and 4,260 from the Army. Added with the municipality police, total of 13,074 members. Sonora is divided in 9 coordinations, regional coordinations of the National Guard, and has its state coordination in these 9 locations is where Guardia Nacional is working, and state and national forces coordinations are in Cajeme, Guaymas, Navajoa, Hermosillo, Moctezuma, Ures, Bavispe, Caborca, and Puerto Peñasco. When it comes to constructions of the companies of National Guard, where the personnel is there to display their presence and have the territorial command that we've been looking for under the strategy, we have that on the 19th. We constructed a location in Cajeme. On the 2020 was 5 different locations: Nogales, Bavispe, Moctezuma, Hermosillo, Pitiquito, Navajoa, 3 more, Guaymas, and the ones 2022 are 8. We concluded 1 of them in Guaymas. The other ones are in process of, 4 of them are in process, 5 are in process of construction: Yecora, Hermosillo, and San Luis Rio Colorado. And in Palme and Bacadehuachi, we are close to initiating construction. We just needed the lands, but with the backing of the government of the states, we are able to start the construction. And for this year, it is considered that we have 1 more installation in Puerto Peñasco that we are in process of obtaining the terrain to start soon enough the construction. Additionally, these constructions, the Army gave 2 installations to the National Guard so that we can have at the end of 2023 20 different installations that the National Guard members will be spread out through the territory of Sonora and generating conditions of security. When it comes to the assignation of federal resources when it comes to public security, we received 384.6 million pesos, and when it comes to fertilizing municipalities and territorial areas, 2,618 million. The seizures of the state, when it comes to the administration, we have important numbers: 64 pounds of marijuana, 68,564, 2,099 of cocaine, heroin 628 kilograms, opium 114 kilos, methamphetamines 36,773 kilograms, fentanyl 1,222 kilograms, pills already made of fentanyl 8.5 million pills, and detainees are 6,018, 4,380 terrestrial vehicles, 5 laboratories, 6 ships, and 22 airplanes,
51.361 cargadores, 243 granadas,
armed weapons or firearms,
4.558
4,558,
a la delincuencia
cartridges,
organizada, al igual que
7.1 million,
$4.9 millones de dólares,
as well as
$23.1 millones de litros de
dollars in
combustible
cash and
recuperado.
Mexican pesos and
Adelante.
combustibles.
En cuanto
And when it comes
a
to
la búsqueda y
the
rescate,
search and
aquí
rescue,
en el estado
here in the
ha habido
States,
611
we've had
eventos en los que han
611
participado
different events where
371
there have been
elementos del Ejército, de la
371
Fuerza
members of
Aérea,
the Army and the Air
Marina
Force,
y de Guardia
Marines,
Nacional,
and National
asistiendo
Guard
a
assisting
197
to
personas.
197
En cuanto a
civilians.
inteligencia aérea,
And when it comes
el
to
trabajo
aerial
adelante. En cuanto a
intelligence,
inteligencia aérea, se han
there has
detectado
been
71
detected
alertamientos
71
aéreos, alertamientos que inicialmente se
71
identifica un vuelo ilícito de alguna aeronave.
flights where we
De
found
ahí
that
se
is
pone en
illicit
ejecución
flights,
el sistema
and
integral de
we
vigilancia aérea
execute the
para poder
aerial vigilance
identificar, dar
to be able
seguimiento
to
y comprobar
identify and follow up
el
with
estatus de la aeronave.
the
En
airplane
15
and the
eventos, en
state
15 de
of
estos
it.
alertamientos
In
hemos
15 of
tenido
these, we
resultados
have
positivos
positive
con todo
results
este sistema que
with
se
the
pone en
system
ejecución.
that is put in
Y aquí
place,
tenemos los resultados:
and we have the
408
results here.
kilogramos de
408
marihuana
kilograms of
asegurada,
marijuana seized,
167 kilogramos de
167 kilograms
cocaína,
of cocaine,
124 de
and
heroína,
124 kilograms of heroin,
2.98 kilogramos de goma
2.98
de opio,
kilograms of opium,
3.417 kilogramos de
3,417
metanfetaminas,
kilograms of methamphetamines,
210
fentanyl,
kilogramos de
210
fentanilo y
kilograms,
2.4
and
millones de
fentanyl pills
pastillas de
to
fentanilo,
2.4
logrando la
million,
detención de 5 personas,
and getting
asegurando
the
14
detention of 25
vehículos
people, 14
terrestres,
vehicles,
5 aeronaves,
5
6 armas de
airplanes,
fuego aseguradas,
6 firearms,
2.778 cartuchos, 95 cargadores.
2,778
Se han
cartridges,
asegurado
95
también 35,000 pesos
cartridges
de
as well,
moneda
and
nacional y se han
Mexican
recuperado
cash,
455
and
litros de combustible.
485 liters
En
of
cuanto a la
combustibles.
aplicación del plan
When it comes
DN3,
to the
plan
application
Marina,
of
plan de la
DN3
Guardia
plan,
Nacional aquí en Sonora,
the National Guard in
lo que
Sonora,
va de la administración,
when
se
it
han
comes to the
atendido
administration, we have tended
604
to
eventos
604
y que han
public
beneficiado
events that
a
have benefited
48.381 personas, habiendo
more
participado
than
16.786 efectivos
48,000 people
del Ejército, con
with
1.746 vehículos y 2 aeronaves,
16,776 members of the armed forces,
4.030 efectivos de la Guardia Nacional,
with
con
National
401
Guard
vehículos,
members with 401 vehicles,
2.864 efectivos de Marina, con 100 vehículos y 2 aeronaves,
with 100
atendiendo
vehicles. We have the Marines
371
and
heladas, 92 incendios
371
forestales, 62
freezing
botellas severas,
conditions. We've
36
tended to
accidentes
civilians there.
vehiculares,
Forest fires,
21
92.
incendios urbanos, 9 accidentes
Storms,
ferroviarios,
62.
4 derrames de
Vehicle
sustancias
accidents,
químicas,
more
3
than 60.
explosiones de gas LP,
And
2 accidentes
explosion of
aéreos,
gas,
2
2
derrumbes,
air
un
accidents,
rescate de
2
personas y los efectos de un huracán. Esta es la
of
participación del
hurricanes
personal de las
that
tres
we've also had
Fuerzas Armadas y Guardia Nacional
assistance
en
on
la
nearby
asistencia a desastres.
in
Es
this
todo,
area.
presidente.
That is all, Mr. President.
Sí. Vamos a
Yes,
ver
so
lo
we're
del
gonna see
juicio a
about
García
Genaro Garcia Luna now.
Este jueves 16 de febrero en la Corte
This
de
Thursday,
Justicia
16
del
February,
Distrito
in
Federal
New
el
York,
juicio contra
New
Genaro
York,
García Luna entró
the
en su
Garcia
etapa
Luna
de deliberación.
trial entered into
Los 12 miembros del
deliberation.
jurado, 6 hombres y 6 mujeres, cuya identidad se mantiene
6
anónima,
men, 6 women
así como
whose
6
identity
suplentes
is
que no
anonymous,
tienen
and
voto
6
en la decisión
extras
final,
that don't have
recibieron
any final
instrucciones del
votes
juez
on the
Brian
final
Corgan
decision,
sobre la
came
forma
to
en
Brian
que
Corgan
deberán
in the way
analizar la
that they're going to be
evidencia y
analyzing the
decidir
evidence
sobre la
and
culpabilidad
decide
o
whether
inocencia
guilty
del
or not guilty
exsecretario de
for
Seguridad Pública de
ex-Secretary
Felipe
of
Calderón.
Security
García
in
Luna,
Mexico, Garcia
señalado
Luna,
por sus nexos con
pointed
organizaciones
out
como el Cártel
from the
de Sinaloa
organization
y la
from
Organización de los
Cartel de
Beltrán
Sinaloa
Leiva,
and Beltran
enfrenta
Leiva
5
organization
cargos y
is
6
faced with
agravantes
5
por
charges and
liderar
6
una
aggravants
organización
to
criminal,
lead a
conspiración
criminal
para el tráfico de
organization,
cocaína y
conspiracy
por falso
for
testimonio
cocaine
ante la Oficina de
and
Ciudadanía e
trafficking of
Inmigración
cocaine
cuando
and
solicitó
lying
su
to immigration
naturalización como
when he
estadounidense.
solicited his
Respecto al cargo de conspiración, El
the
juez les
U.S.
dijo que primero deben analizar y decidir si existió o no la
and they will need to
conspiración.
decide if the
Únicamente si
conspiration
consideran que esa conspiración existió, entonces deben
existed.
valorar si
If
García
so,
Luna se
this
salió
would
o no
need
de la
to be
misma al
validated
dejar
if
su cargo en
Garcia
2012 como
kept
argumenta
doing
la
the same
defensa.
thing while he was at
Segundo,
work
deben
is
analizar si
as
García Luna
Secretary of
tomó
Security.
una acción lo
Then Garcia
suficientemente
took
clara y
a
contundente para
sufficient
salir de la
and
conspiración.
clear
Kogan
way to
enfatizó
get
que
out of
el
that
hecho de
conspiracy.
haberse
Kogan, in
separado
fact,
de su empleo no basta
emphasized
para
that
considerar
being
que el
separating
acusado
him from
abandonó
his
su
employment,
conspiración
it doesn't mean
y
that he
señaló que a
abandoned doing what he
diferencia
was
del tema
doing,
de
and mentioned that
culpabilidad que debe
in
probar la
difference of the
fiscalía,
guiltiness that
el hecho de
the
salir o no
prosecution
de
needs
la
to prove,
conspiración le
the fact
corresponde
that
probar
he went
a
out
la
of
defensa.
conspiracy or not
El
is
juez
for
Kogan
the
indicó al
defense
jurado
to
que
prove.
no debe considerar en su decisión cualquier simpatía que
The
tengan
judge
por
said
las
they do
partes,
not need to
ni
consider
dejarse
any
influenciar
sympathy
por
or let
sentimientos que
them be
pudieran
influenced
tener
for any
sobre el
sentiments
género o
that they would have
etnicidad
for
del acusado.
gender or
Insistió que se debe mantener la
ethnicity,
presunción de
and
inocencia
he said
y
that
que el
the
jurado debe
innocence needs to
decidir
be
más allá de
maintained
cualquier
and the
duda
jury needs to
razonable.
decide
Hogan pidió al jurado
furthermore
evaluar
than
la
the
evidencia
doubt in
aplicando su
question
razonamiento y
and
sentido
applying
común,
its
evitar
reasoning,
la especulación
common
y
reasoning,
mantenerse apegados
and
a
to
la
maintain
evidencia,
themselves to the
incluidos los
evidence,
testimonios
including
bajo
the
juramento.
testimony under.
Respecto al proceso de deliberación, el jurado debe estar en una sala llamada
And as
cuarto del
well,
jurado.
they need to
En
be
dicho
in their
cuarto en el
own
que están
place
prohibidos los
where
celulares,
the
el
cell phones
jurado tiene
are
acceso a
prohibited.
toda la evidencia del caso. Tras las instrucciones del juez, el
And
jurado
behind these
comenzó sus
instructions,
deliberaciones, las
the
cuales
jury started
continuarán
their
hoy
deliberations
viernes, y
that
en
will
caso
continue
de
today and Friday,
extenderse,
and
se
in
retomarán
case
el
they are
próximo
extended, they will
martes,
be
ya que el
retaken
lunes
next
es día
Tuesday,
festivo en Estados
since
Unidos.
Monday
El
is
jurado no tiene un tiempo determinado para llegar
a
a una
holiday.
decisión y en cualquier
In the
momento
case that the
puede
jury does
solicitar la
not
evidencia que
come to an
requiere,
agreement,
ya
and
sea
in
con
any time they
huelga
need
o
to request
fragmentos específicos
some
de
fragments
los
or complete
testimonios.
parts of
Por
information
la tarde,
that they
el
need.
jurado
In the
envió 3
afternoon,
notas al
the
juez
jury
Kogan,
sent 3 notes
solicitando
to Judge
porciones
Kogan,
de testimonios y
soliciting
otras cosas
portions
relacionadas
of
con el caso.
testimonies
No
and
se
other
dieron los
things
detalles
related to the
sobre
case.
exactamente qué
There
testimonios
was
se
no details
solicitó en
given
las
to
notas del
what
jurado,
testimony
pero
was
según los
solicited, but
números de páginas de
according
las
to the numbers of the
transcripciones,
pages of the
parecen
transcriptions,
estar relacionados con
there
el
needs to be
testimonio de
related to the
Grande
testimony
e
of El
Israel
Grande
Ávila.
and Israel
Igualmente
Avila.
pidieron las
At the same
transcripciones de
time,
los
they asked
alegatos
for
de
the
apertura y
transcription of
cierre de la
the
defensa y la
declaration
fiscalía,
of the
pero el
defense
juez
and
dijo
the
que esas
prosecution
no son
closing
pruebas,
arguments.
por lo que
But
el
the judge
jurado
said those
no
are not
puede tener copias. Una
evidence,
vez que el
so
jurado
the
tenga el
jury can't have
veredicto, le
copies of
avisará
those.
al juez,
Once the
y
jury
este
has their
pedirá
verdict
al
done, they will
jurado que
notify the
corrobore
judge,
si la
and the
decisión
judge will
fue
notify,
unánime.
ask
Después se
the
le entregará
jury
la
if it
hoja
was
del
unanimous,
veredicto
and
al
then
juez,
they will be
quien
given the page
procederá
of
a
the
leerla.
verdict to the judge, whom will be the one to read it.
Muy bien.
Very
Hace
well.
como
So
2 días
just about 2 days ago,
dijimos que
we
los
said that
medios
the media
en el país no
in the
estaban
country were not
difundiendo suficientemente
spreading
lo
out
del caso de García
enough
Luna.
about Garcia
Es
Luna.
más, que por eso habíamos
Matter of
tomado
fact,
nosotros
and that's
la
why we
decisión
have
de
taken the
informar aquí en
decision
la
to
mañanera,
inform here in the mornings,
porque había
in the
una
conferences,
especie
because
de ocultamiento
there was some type of
de
covering up of
este juicio.
this trial.
Y hablé incluso de
And I
que
spoke, in fact,
le habían dado más tiempo
that they have
en
provided
Televisa
more time in Televisa
al caso de
to the
Laida
case of
Sansores
Laida Sansores
que al de García
than
Luna.
they did of Garcia Luna.
Y ayer,
And just
o
yesterday,
antier,
or the day
contestó
before,
Televisa diciendo que
Televisa
no era
answered
cierto,
and said that
de
that was
que
not
le habían
true.
dado como 4 horas
That they had given
caso
about 4 hours to that
de
case,
García
Garcia
Luna,
Luna,
y solo 1 hora
and only 1 hour
al caso de Laida
to the
Sansores.
case of Laida Sansores.
Vamos a ver
Let's see
cuál es la información que nosotros
what's the
tenemos.
information that we have.
El otro dato,
The other information.
Esto es lo que yo sostuve y esto es lo que contestaron en Televisa.
This is what I held up, and this is what they answered.
¿No tienen el video?
You don't have the video for that?
Ahí está.
There it is. So
4 horas,
4
42
hours,
minutos.
42 minutes
Juicio
for
García Luna,
supposed Garcia Luna,
1 minuto
and 1 minute
en el caso de Laida.
in Laida's case. Do you have it?
El otro día veía yo de que sacaron unos
The other day I noticed
videos
that they took out these
de
videos
funcionarios supuestamente
from
vinculados a
supposed
Laida,
public
en Televisa,
workers vinculated to
que luego se
Laida,
aclaró
that then it
que
was
estaban recibiendo
clarified
ese dinero
that they were receiving
cuando
this video when
trabajaban con el que es ahora
they were
presidente
working
del PRI,
to whom the one or with the one that
se
is
le
from
aventaron
El
a
PRI,
Televisa a Laida
but Televisa
Fuerte.
went after Alaida strongly
con esos videos.
with
Y
those videos,
mandé a hacer
and I sent a request,
un análisis
an
de
analysis
cuánto tiempo dedicó
of how
Televisa
much did Televisa dedicate
a esos videos y cuánto
to those
tiempo
videos
dedicó
and how
a
much
informar
time
sobre Genaro
they
García Luna.
dedicated about
Y fue
Genaro
más el
Garcia
tiempo
Luna, and it
dedicado
was more dedicated
a los videos de Laida.
to the videos
A
of
partir
Laida,
de que los dimos a
starting
conocer,
from that
comparado
they
con
let us
el
know
tiempo a García
and
Luna.
compared to the Garcia
El
Luna
presidente tiene
Times.
razón. El juicio
The
contra
president
Genaro
is
García
right.
Luna en Nueva York es
Juicio,
un tema
the jury,
importantísimo. Y lo que se ha dado a conocer en ese proceso muestra el
the
poder control
trial,
del crimen organizado en nuestro país. Por eso le quiero compartir el tiempo que le
I
hemos
want to
dedicado a
share
cubrirlo,
that
comparado con la nota a la que
the
también
time
se
that
refirió
we've
el
compared
presidente
to the note that
López Obrador.
Mr.
La semana
President
pasada la proporción fue de
referred to
4 a
last
1,
week
es decir,
was
4
4
horas
to 1,
dedicadas
so
al
4
juicio de García
hours
Luna
dedicated
por
to Garcia
1 hora
Luna
a los videos en
for
Campeche.
1 hour
El
of the
análisis que
videos in
mencionó el
Campeche.
presidente el
The
pasado
analysis
14
that
de febrero
the
se
president
refiere
mentioned,
específicamente
the
al
last
nuevo
14
espacio de
refers
noticias de
specifically
Televisa
to the new
llamado
space
Noticiero
Televisa
en Punto con
called
Enrique
Noticiero en
Acevedo.
Punto with
Y
Enrique
revela
Acevedo,
que
and it
este
reveals
espacio ha
that this
dedicado más
space
tiempo a
has
cubrir la
dedicated more
nota de
time
los videos de
to cover
Campeche que
more
al
time
juicio
in
contra
Campeche
García
to
Luna
the
en Nueva York.
trial of
Entre el
Genaro
lunes
Garcia
6 de
Luna.
febrero, cuando se dan a
From
conocer los
Monday,
videos de
6th of
Campeche,
February, when the
hasta el lunes
Campeche
13 de
videos are
febrero,
known,
el
to
noticiero En
Monday,
Punto
13th of
dedicó
February,
14 minutos
that
y 45
newscast dedicated
segundos a los
14
videos de
minutes
Campeche
to the
contra
Campeche
11
videos
minutos
against
y
11
5
minutes
segundos a notas
with 5
relacionadas
seconds
con
to
el
notes
juicio de
related to
García
Garcia
Luna.
Luna.
De acuerdo con datos de
According
NMAS,
to
el noticiero en
NMAS
punto
information,
es visto en
Noticiero en
promedio
Punto
por
is
8 millones de
watched for,
personas cada
in
noche
average,
y representa
by 8
más del
millions
doble que
every
su
night and
competidor
represents
más
more than the
cercano,
double
por
of
lo
its
que es
closest
considerado un
competitor. Why it's
noticiero
considered,
estelar.
it's one of
Durante
the
los días mencionados,
stellar
todas estas
newscasts.
personas recibieron
All these
más
people that
información
were
del
mentioned
tema de
received more
Campeche
information about
que del
Campeche
juicio contra
than
García
in the
Luna.
case of Garcia Luna.
El lunes 6 de febrero
Monday,
se le
6th of
dedicaron
February,
5 minutos
5
y
minutes
27
dedicated
segundos del noticiero a los
to
videos de Campeche
the Campeche
contra 2
videos
minutos y 30
against 2
segundos
minutes
de
and 30
cobertura
seconds
sobre el
of
juicio
coverage
contra
about Genaro
García Luna. El
Garcia Luna.
martes 7 de febrero se le
And
dedicaron 4
7th of
minutos y
February and
35
and
segundos
Tuesday,
del
3
noticiero
minutes
a
and
los
7
videos de
seconds
Campeche
to
contra 3
Campeche
minutos y
videos
7 segundos de
against
cobertura
307
sobre el
of
juicio
the Genaro
contra
Garcia Luna.
García Luna.
Campeche videos
El
435.
miércoles 8 de
And
febrero se
on the
le
8th,
dedicaron 4
4 minutes
minutos y
16
16 segundos
to the
del
Campeche
noticiero
videos.
a los videos de Campeche. En
And
contra,
then
solo
on
22
the 8th of
segundos de
February, the same
cobertura
day,
sobre el
22
juicio contra García
seconds
Luna.
of Garcia Luna.
El jueves 9 de febrero se le dedicaron
And
27 segundos
Thursday,
del
9th of
noticiero
February,
a los
20
videos de
seconds
Campeche
of Campeche
contra 2
videos
minutos y
against
53 segundos de
2.53
cobertura sobre
seconds
el juicio contra García
of
Luna.
the
El
trial of
viernes
Garcia
10 de
Luna. On
febrero
Friday,
no se
10th
dio
of
cobertura en
February,
el noticiero
there was
a
no
ninguno
coverage
de los dos
to any
temas.
of those
El lunes 13 de
subjects.
febrero solo
On
se le
Monday,
dio
13,
cobertura al juicio
only
contra García Luna
gave
por 2
13
minutos y 13
minutes,
segundos del
2
noticiero.
minutes 13 seconds of Garcia Luna.
Así está.
That's how it is.
Eso es en todo, ¿no?
So this is
Todo
in its
Televisa.
entirety, all Televisa.
Las estrellas.
Canal de las Estrellas in Televisa.
No, pues es muy importante.
Well, it's really important then. Laida, it's really important then.
En el canal de las estrellas.
In El
Nada
Canal de
más
las
aclarar,
Estrellas. Just to clarify,
porque
because
tenemos que estar informando.
we have to be informing, and
un buen debate
it's a very good debate
que conviene a todos.
that benefits
Antes,
everybody. Before,
pontificaban,
they would
no se podía replicar.
State that you couldn't even give any replicas,
Los medios, ¿no? Y ya.
any answer to whatever the media said.
Ahora,
And that's it. But now,
en
fortunately, in Televisa and all the other medias, there's an attitude of openness and is
la réplica. Y eso es lo que estamos ejerciendo.
accepted to speak out, and this is what we're doing. We're speaking out to what we see. So let's do Sonora.
El resto del país.
Buenos
The
días,
rest of the country.
señor presidente Demián Duarte de Sonora Power. Como sabe usted,
Sonora
siempre es muy
Power.
bienvenido a nuestro estado.
As you know,
Más en
you're
este
very
momento,
welcome to
mire,
come to our state. More in this case. Yesterday we were in an event that is really important, transcendent, denominated Cumbre Sonora. This event outlined a fact that I insisted to publicize to the highest level that I can. It's a metaphor that calls for what we're looking at is happening in our states. And the reflection on that is that a lot of this, we owe it to you. That's the truth. In Sonora, we've seen a good, important transformation since you got to the government. You backed us up. You have pushed this Sonora plan that today we know is going to Puerto Peñasco, tomorrow in Bavispe, with all the lithium and the power, electrical power. As you know, Sonora is one of the biggest states in the country. We have the biggest resource. We have seas, we got frontier with the strategic locations, and Sonorians have always thought that we have a stellar place in the country. So the first is what I say, that it's educated to say thank you, and sincerely want to say that, and very clear, all that you've done for this country, for the states. And inside the tour, my reflection is that there's a very important act, for example, the one on Sunday. Mr. President, we know the plan of justice for Yaquis, and not too long ago, about the University of the peoples of Yaqui, and we haven't touched a lot of that. And want to ask you if you can explain your point of view, the vision that you have in terms of what is the push that you're giving, and what strategies can we have in the future for these people, Yaquis? Well, I consider that it is a plan where it's a special plan, and for the Yaqui culture, we are attending to all the originating peoples of the country, preference to the indigenous, that sadly are the poorest in Mexico. And that is the most intimate truth of the country. And in all Mexico, we are taking care of that, to the indigenous communities.
Pero en el caso de los pueblos yaquis, considero que es
and in the case of the Yaqui people,
el apoyo.
It's the biggest assistance, because justice plan to the people of Yaqui, the Yaqui peoples, is to integrate In all cases, the well-being programs,
están dirigidos
they
a
are
los más
directed
pobres.
to the poorest.
Puedo decirles
I can say
que en las comunidades
that
indígenas
in the indigenous
es donde
communities
más
is
apoyo
where there are more
se
backing
recibe de parte
and
del
received
gobierno
from
federal.
part of the federal
Pero en el
government.
caso
But in
de
the
los pueblos
case
yaquis,
of the Yaqui
además de los
peoples,
programas de bienestar,
and
se están
aside from
llevando a
the
cabo
Bienestar
otras acciones
programs,
muy
there's other
importantes.
actions being undertaken,
Se
very important ones, in fact,
está
where
devolviéndole la
we are
tierra
returning the
que les
lands
quitaron
that were taken from them
después de la resolución presidencial
after the presidential
de
resolution
General Lázaro Cárdenas.
of General Lázaro Cárdenas
Los dotaron de
that
una
were
superficie
empowered
y
of
con el paso
some
del tiempo
spaces, but with the time
fueron perdiendo
they were losing
terrenos de su
ground,
propiedad.
so from their properties. So
Y ya logramos
we've managed to
devolverles 30,000 hectáreas.
return 30,000
Ya se
acres.
les, entregaron.
They were given back to them.
Fue un proceso de
It was a
restitución
process of restitution,
de
per
esas
se,
tierras.
of those lands.
Además,
And
también,
aside,
tienen permisos desde la época del general Cárdenas.
they have
para
permission from
el
the
uso del
times of
agua.
General Cardenas for the use
Y
of water.
nunca se
And
les
never
habían
before
reconocido
was that
esos
recognized. They
Al
were recognized of
contrario,
those rights. In the
se les
contrary,
quitaba el
they
agua.
would be taken from them.
Entonces, ahora,
And so now,
primero se está
first,
haciendo un
we
acueducto.
are doing an aqueduct
No tenían agua
because there was no
ni siquiera
water,
para su consumo
not even
doméstico.
for their own consumption, domestic
Entonces,
consumption
está haciendo un
in those
acueducto
towns. So we're building an
para que no les
aqueduct
falte el agua.
so that there's no water,
Se está
lack of
construyendo
water, and we are
un
constructing
distrito de riego
a
para todos los
irrigation
pueblos,
district
yaquis.
for all those towns,
Estamos
the Yaqui
hablando,
towns.
en el caso del acueducto,
And we're
del
talking about
distrito de
the
riego, una
aqueducts
inversión de más de
and
10,000
investment of
millones
more
de
than
pesos.
10,000 million pesos.
Lo mismo.
And the same,
Se están construyendo viviendas,
we are constructing
se están,
living quarters.
construyendo escuelas,
There are schools being
se
built.
están arreglando las calles,
There are
se están
roads
haciendo caminos,
fixed, ways, roads,
la universidad
streets
de
are being
pueblos
fixed. The
yaquis.
University of the Yaqui
programa
people. It's an entire integral program.
Entonces, nos sentimos muy satisfechos
So we are
porque
satisfied with,
es un acto
because this is an act of justice
en toda la
and
extensión de la palabra.
the entire extension of the
No hay
word.
que olvidar nunca.
Let's not forget, ever forget.
Se dice con frecuencia,
It's said
ni
frequently,
perdón ni olvido.
not
Yo digo,
forgiveness,
perdón sí,
don't forget.
olvido
I
no.
say forgiveness, yes. Forget, no.
Los yaquis
The Yaquis, for
fueron
example,
reprimidos
they were
como ningún
repressed as any other group
grupo
has,
indígena,
as no other group has,
como ninguna
as
población en
indigenous
México.
people, like
Los querían
no one else.
desaparecer.
They wanted to disappear
Fue
them.
una guerra de exterminio.
It was a war of
La que
extermination that they went
durante
through, basically,
el
through the
gobierno
governments
autoritario dictatorial
y la
de
pasea-
Porfirio Díaz, para
of
quitarles
Porfirio
sus tierras
Diaz to take their lands
y
away
quitarles el agua.
and take away their water.
Mandaron a los militares más represores del porfiriato a enfrentar a los yaquis. Se habla de que fueron
They sent the worst army members, military members, the harshest ones. And it said that 15,000 Yaquis were killed, slaughtered.
el gobierno federal
The federal
compró
government then
armamento
bought
especial
armament, special armaments,
para esa guerra.
to complete that war. All the generals, the most famous generals, due to their authoritism, they participated in that war. Thousands of Yaquis deported to Southeast to work as slaves. A great injustice. And we have to reivindicate the communities that went through this great repression in an unfair way. And that's what is being done. And furthermore, in all this attitude of this prestige to the communities, to the peoples of indigenous, there's a sentiment of a thought of racism that is also included and maintained up to date. Porfirista thinking is still on. It's still being thought that if indigenous are poor, it's because they don't work.
Que así les gusta vivir, que
it's still being thought that they're indolent, that they keep wanting to live that way, and if because they're abandoned, it's because of them. In Porfirio, you know what he used to say? To take their lands and take the Yaquis and other indigenous peoples from their lands. You know what he used to argument? He would say that they weren't the owners of the lands, and that they felt as if they were, when historically, of course, they've been here forever in these territories. So that we had to take them out, take their lands, to turn it into, to give it to prosperous people with beginnings, because that's how progress was depending on. And from there, the great injustices that were committed in Sonora. So we're working with all of them, all those peoples, and of course we are giving preference to the ones that need it mostly and fastest. But there's investments that are being brought, very important for the future of Sonora. It's a great state with a lot of natural resources, and only mention that the territorial extension of Sonora, for example, is the second biggest extension in the country, and it also has 500 kilometer border with US. It also has clean energy. It has manifested renewable energies. It is being defined already forward that all the cars that are going to be utilized, they're going to be electrical. They're setting it up as a date to 2030. So we need to change the entire automotive industry, and that's going to require clean energies, and it's going to require a mineral, a strategic mineral that Sonora has, the lithium, for the constructions of batteries. So Sonora has all this potential that we're going to be developing with what we've called Plan Sonora. That is a proposal that Governor Durazo, governor, stated. And we could take into account as well that less than a year ago, the U.S. government decided to invest in Arizona to for the elaboration of semiconductor chips.
Porque están pensando en no depender de Asia para el uso de estos chips que escasearon cuando la pandemia.
Because they're deciding not to depend on China for the developments of these chips. So when the financial situation happened not too long ago, they couldn't even buy a refrigerator, and they couldn't purchase or make them because they had to purchase them from China. So we're going to be independent. So that plant, they are installing it in Arizona and in the limits or next to the border of Sonora, with Sonora. And so the chips, the semiconductors, the lithium, the batteries, the industry, the automotive industry, the auto part industry, renewable energy, all of that is what is being taken advantage of with the Sonora plan. And it means, of course, investments. We started with these plants in Peñasco for solar energy, but we can replicate it in 5 different zones of Sonora. Today, for example, there's energy being produced, and I was asking how much, because I don't want to go and turn on a plant and press a button, and it doesn't mean nothing. But they say starting from today, what I'm going to be doing is to press a button. It's going to mean electricity for 60,000 homes, and it's barely the beginning. That can be replicated, of course. With the lithium, it's the same thing. We're going to make this law valid to make it worthwhile of this strategic mineral for a benefit of Sonora. So the plants of battery creation and the automotive industry in Sonora, and that there's work in Sonora, and that these resources are so that we can take advantage of these resources, and we can have all these plants established in Sonora, have that facility, and guarantees the development of Sonora. We're not going to get to see it. I finish in 18, 19 months. Alfonso will has a lot more time, but let's not be thinking of the short term. Let's not be thinking of the proximal election, but in the next generations. And when it comes to what we're going to be able to generate for the new generations. And in total, I calculate that the federal government this year and the next will destine to Sonora around 50,000 million pesos in infrastructure work that has to do with roadways from Port of Guaymas, this electrical sector, all that has to do with customs, and many other things, like 50,000 million of investment for Sonora. And around the water subject, now that you're speaking about the 18th district for the Yaquis, there are a few situations that just next to the Irrigation Institute, there's Rio Muerto. I was contacted by a group of peasants that they haven't been able to have access to have a registry number. They said that Conagua, since that they're so poor that if they had the time that we can explain that they need your help because they can't sustain their farms. And about the water, the users of Rio Mata insist that Conagua, the water company, has not started with the works that they promised to have the potential control of avenues, and they ask for your intervention. Sorry, and they're wanting to say that the 10% reduction of the homicides was a good thing. Sadly, Sonora is such a big state, and we have different regions. In the case of Guaymas, it's still a problem that in Paviamento with 48%, the homicides in Cajeme went down 15%. Either way, it's still red focus on that. Hermosillo is okay, but Caborca, San Luis Rio Colorado as well. The mayors of these municipalities, and I've commented with Secretary Rosa Isela, they've insisted that there's some funds justly for the equipments for the members of a lot of million pesos for the states that, for the municipalities that are the first, insist so that they need backup and access to the resources. You said that it would have to go through the Congress, and if it was approved, and well, that hasn't been the case. And at the end, ask you about the Repue funds. We know that that plan is going to be finished by the 31st of March. At least is what the decree says. But what I'm told as well, again to the mayors, is that they didn't receive what they were supposed to get since December, November, October, that they didn't get anything. So they have this idea to finish with the processes of fixing the roads. Well, about the security question, it is really important that is known. As the general just informed, of the construction and the elements members that are in Sonora, it's one of the states that is most tended to 2,000 members of National Guard. Y se están construyendo cuarteles. A ver si ponemos la gráfica del general sobre cuarteles y elementos de la Guardia Nacional. And as we've seen before from the general charts, that there are many locations already in place, and we're assisting the government, helping out the state government, because Alfonso is, best to say it with more clarity, is my representative. Aside from being the governor of Sonora, he is a governor that is free and independent, sovereign of Sonora. He is my representative, if I can speak about that. And if there's this position exists, that's what he is. He's my representative here. And look how many installations we've gotten of the National Guard have been constructed, but independently from the locations that are going to be in a total of 20 when we finish at the end of next year. Why don't you put the number of National Guard members present? Look at that one. Only the Army has 4,260. Just the Army of operatives. There's more, of course, but it's administrative personnel, of course. Secretary of Marines, 964. National Guard, 2,647. In total, of the federal government members, 7,871. Municipal police, states, 5,023. So we're giving the special attention to this, to Sonora, because we have all the confidence, and it's required by the people because of the insecurity problems and violence, of course. Today I didn't say anything because I respect Alfonso, but he said that they will be destining more resources for the contracting and the hiring of people to train installations and members of the police, stating before that because they didn't have any installations, they have to stay in hotels as they used to do it. The unnameable federal police used to do it. They would stay in hotels. And that was really sad that they never developed one police locations, and they would take the hotels and they would leave without paying. That was a shame disaster. So I was thinking, and I'm saying it now, because my chest is not a warehouse. Don't do those funds with that purpose. We're going to help you more, creating more installations and with more National Guard elements. And among other things, there's an advantage for that. It's really important. Municipal police, because whether they're really good or not, that there are very good, they're really pressured because their families live there, municipalities know them, and it's bullet or money. when it comes to that.
Entonces, es para ellos una situación muy difícil.
So it's for them, it's a real strong situation. They're very hard. A guard from the National Guard
Casi
member,
no es conocido,
the
porque
unknown,
además hay un mecanismo
because there's
de la
mechanisms
defensa,
that
de
the
la Guardia Nacional,
National
de
Guard and
rotación.
Secretary of Defense of rotation.
Entonces, tiene mayor eficacia.
They have more efficiency
En cuanto a esto.
when it
Desde
comes to
luego,
this. And of
tienen que
course,
haber policías municipales, tienen que haber
there's got to be
policías
municipal
estatales,
police, states,
profesionales, pero
professionals.
en algunos estados
But in
donde,
some states
hay más presencia de la
where there are more
delincuencia
presence of
organizada,
organized
lo mejor
crime,
es
the best
fortalecer
is to
la
fortify
Guardia Nacional
and strengthen the
aprovechar
National Guard
la reforma
and
a
take
la
advantage
Constitución
of the
que
Constitution
nos
reform
permitió
that allowed
que ahora
us
las Fuerzas Armadas,
that
tanto
nowadays
la
the armed
Secretaría de
Forces,
Marina como la Defensa,
Secretary of
puedan
the
ayudar
Marines
en
and the
tareas de
Defense can
seguridad
assist in
pública. Bueno, eso lo
public
quería
security.
dejar
Well,
de
that I
manifiesto.
wanted
Pero
to leave
también
that as a
hay
manifest.
una lámina que no sé
But
si
as
se
well,
presentó
there's
ahora
one that was
sobre
not
lo
presented
que
today
destina
about
la Federación,
where the
que por
Federation
derecho le
destines the
corresponde a
money
estados y
that by
municipios.
right
Son
belongs,
fondos
the
de
funds that
seguridad.
belong to
A
the
ver si la
states and
ponen
municipalities. Hopefully that we can find it.
esto.
That one there.
Lo de abajo, los 2.600
The
es
bottom
para
part, the
municipios.
2,600
Puede ser
is for
que no
municipalities.
sea suficiente, pero sí hay un
That it could
fondo
be that is not enough,
con
but there is
ese
a fund
propósito.
with
Y
that
lo de
purpose.
arriba es
And the
para
one on
el
top
Estado,
is for the state,
básicamente.
307.7 million
Y
pesos. So there's a fund
acerca
there.
de lo de la regularización de los
And about the regularization of the
de
vehicles,
origen extranjero,
legalization,
tiene, Alfonso, bueno,
Alfonso
toda la
has
información,
all the information.
incluso sobre esto, si quieres,
And
profundizar,
about this as well, if you want to deepen a little bit about this. In the case of, when it comes to the vehicles, legalization of the vehicles,
tenemos en este momento 137,800 vehículos registrados.
There was many vehicles registered in the municipalities, Nogales, over 19,000, and Cajeme, 13,000, Agua Prieta, 10,000. We're around the areas that have more of those types of vehicles. Secretary of Hacienda, or IRS, have assigned 133 million pesos, meaning they have covered the registry of vehicles up to October. But we are a state that is at 100% with the paperwork with the IRS, and every month there's an assignation that, in fact, this Monday we have a reunion with municipal presidencies. There's a very important quantity that arrived, and this Monday we're going to be turning in and in person a check to each, but we still need November, December, and January. That's going to be arriving, and as it arrives, without being reduced, we'll transfer it immediately to the municipalities, as we've done invariably. We are a government that does not owe 1 cent to the municipalities under any concept. And then the other part of it, thank you, Mr. President. Here, in the case of Sonora, the advance is we would get 347 million Mexican pesos, 770. In this moment, Secretary of IRS has turned in 139 million pesos. These 139 million correspond to the month of October, and in spending, we have presented all the projects and all the projects that have been set, and they're going to be turning in monthly this resource. Thank you, Mr. President. All right, so let's. Good morning, Mr. President, Governor, Secretaries. Tabasco Diario presente. Mr. President, so a few days ago, the Peruvian president that is now Dina Boluarte, that is doing that position, urged you to give her the turn in the situation for the Alliance of the Pacific and to ask you about this and taking advantage of the international realm, what happened with the trip that you planned last year for Colombia to talk about the drug policy, and if you have any plans in this 5th year of your government to visit Latin American states or countries. Yes, about the Pacific Alliance, we're looking for the way to turn in the presidency that Peru used to have, but when this reunion was going to take place, the president was not allowed to go. So then we were going to go visit Peru, and they detained him because of this that I consider it was a coup, technical coup. Even though the police have been used for this. And I think it was an illegal act, arbitrary, anti-democratic act. And it was not the will of the people was not respected. Much of this is not spoken about because of the same thing. There are and there's a lot of misinformation
conviene a los grupos oligárquicos de América Latina y del mundo. Los medios tocan al son.
And the strong people and the oligarchies and the media groups follow these created interests, and that's why they decided what is important and what is not. None of this Peruvian situation was mentioned. The destitution of a president, he goes into jail. There's no legal fundamental situations. There's no respecting the will of the people. And what you find at the bottom is an attitude of classism, racism almost, because it's to do with a teacher from the fields, humble. From the beginning, he was accused. Like 5 or 6 intents to destitute him, and he was already there. And in a month, from part of the Congress, there was no majority of the Congress for him. The first announcing of the institution until they were able to do it, and they jailed him. So, with a lot of treason from whom supposedly were helping him, to the degree that when they stop him, who was undertaking this action are his own guards. There's a complicit relation of components of a delinquency association there. It's a big conspiracy. So then you have the presidency situation. I'm going to give instructions to Secretary of External Relations to notify the members of the group of what we can do, because I don't want to turn in the leadership to a government that I consider is fake. Let the groups decide. We're going to notify to see what's their opinion. If they say turn in the presidency, then we'll do it. But I am going to make the survey because I don't want to legitimize a coup. I'm not going to do that. That's contrary to the liberties. It's against the human rights. And it's anti-democratic. And they don't count with us. They can't count on us to do that. All right, Mr. President, and just to know about the Colombian trip. Yes, I do have a trip coming up to South America to visit a few countries. But I think it's going to be really close to the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Allende in Chile. Then I'm going to take advantage to go to Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile up to now. But that will be in September. We have communication with President Petro, Alberto Fernandez of Argentina, and it's also probable that I speak to President Lula today about some businesses that we're talking about exportation and importation of food, what has to do with confronting in a conjoint way the phenomena of inflation, about that subject. Thank you, Mr. President. And in the second question, in 2 weeks, there's going to be the march in favor of the INE, in favor of this institution of election. Along with this, in a few days, there's going to be a separation of the period. Lorenzo Cordova, President, INE President, and his partner, Ciro Murayama, are going to end about this. And you know, and it's been managed in the media, the process to elect elect the new members, the new ball to choose what is the profile that they have to have the counselors that have to be proposed to this post. And if you know and consider prudent that the new president could be a woman. Well, they have to the opposite to what are the ones that are leaving. This means that the new ones need to be new, authentic Democrats, people that are honest, integral, with moral authority, uncorruptible.
Eso es lo que yo considero. Acerca de la marcha o este movimiento de protesta.
And about the march and this movement of protest that has a means as a shade about the electoral. The truth is that it's a manifestation of the conservatives bloc against us. Of course, that's at the deep end. The rest is just the excuse and the pretext of the INE is not untouchable. Garcia Luna is untouchable. Corruption is untouchable. Influentism is untouchable. Whoever wants them to pay taxes, whomever doesn't pay is untouchable. All that. Oh, the press, sold or rented, is untouchable. But that, of course, they have the right. They're in their right to manifest themselves, and that's good. Because that way, they stop simulating. Because apparently they would be independent, liberal. They would fake that they were that. And they are fake conservatives and corrupt. Just imagine Claudio X Gonzalez, all of them now are supposed reals of the honesty when they were the ones that pushed the sacking that was taking place during 36 years of neoliberal or neo-Porfirian times, all the organic information media, with some exceptions. And of course, they are the owners of the information, the companies of information that utilize these media outlets to earn money, sales, contracts, to perform acts of corruption. That's what they have the media for. They're not even important as companies themselves. They have 10 companies, and one of them, of course, is it's like the bodyguard of
el guarura. El que entra en acción,
the one that comes in
si no obtienen preventas.
and goes into action if they don't have any pre-selling.
Ese modus operandi, no
And
tiene
that way
nada
of
que ver
working
con
has
periodistas.
nothing to do with
Eso
the
es lo que quiero
journalists.
dejar en claro.
That's what I need to be getting
No
clear
estoy en
here.
contra de
I'm
esas
not
estructuras
against
de poder,
those structures of power,
no
but
en contra del periodismo.
I'm against them,
Es
but
lo mismo.
not
No
against
estoy en contra de los
journalism.
empresarios.
It's the same thing. I'm not against the
Empresarios
entrepreneurs
merecen
and the business owners. They deserve respect.
es fundamental.
And it's
Para el desarrollo del
fundamental
país.
for the development of the country.
Invierte
There's an
todo el
advancement.
tiempo,
They run risks.
tiene que juntar el dinero para la
Have to
nómina,
come up with the money to pay their workers.
ocupa personas,
Needs people.
dependen de él, muchos
A lot of
familias.
people depend on them. A lot of
Yo estoy en
families depend on
contra
them.
de la
I'm
riqueza
against
malavida,
the bad
no de los
enrichments, not of the
Estoy en contra de los
entrepreneurs and business
que de la
owners.
noche a la mañana,
I'm against the fact that from one day to the
se vuelven
next,
inmensamente ricos,
they become
porque se
immensely
dedicaron a
rich
saquear, a robar
because they dedicated themselves to steal
el erario. Pues es lo mismo el caso de
from
los
public
periodistas.
funds. And it's the same thing
Con
about
todo
the
mi respeto, no
journalists.
es
They
contra
have all my
ellos.
respect. It's not against them.
Ellos venden su trabajo,
They sell their product,
que vendan su
and
trabajo,
that's their work,
pero no su conciencia.
but not their conscience.
Y eso me consta, pues.
And that's what
El problema está arriba.
is a fact. The problem is all the way up on top. Do you really think
Los directores de noticias más
that
famosos,
the newscast directors, the most famous
los
ones,
conductores de radio,
the
televisión,
radio presenters, television presenters, are they autonomous? They're not autonomous.
no, no, ellos
Nope.
reciben línea
They receive
de
orders
los de mero arriba.
from the ones on top.
Ya hablé con este político,
I spoke to these politicians. That's how it was before.
ya llegamos a un acuerdo, ya hubo
We
un
came into an agreement.
enjuague.
There was this
Me
cleanup,
tratas bien,
and
no ha
there was an
querido
agreement. And these types of
ayudar
people have not been wanting to
en la
assist
compra
in the purchasing
de medicinas.
of medicines.
No nos ayuda o no nos quiere ayudar dándonos el
Doesn't want to
contrato
assist us, or doesn't, or can't assist us, giving us the contracts for the purchasing of
Entonces,
police units.
que sienta el rigor de los medios.
So then, that's how it was. So then they would punish them. Well, let them feel the power of the old journalism.
Todo este movimiento pues va en contra
And that's why I feel that all this movement goes against
nosotros,
to what we're doing,
porque
what we're building
se
on,
sienten afectados en sus
because they
intereses.
feel affected on their interests.
Es normal.
And it's normal.
Desde hace mucho tiempo se habla de la reacción.
A long time ago, there was this reaction when there's a process of transformation. There's a reaction. That's why
Se habla de los grupos reaccionarios.
you hear about the reactionary groups.
Entonces se van a manifestar.
So they're going to be manifesting because of that or because of any other
Son
thing.
libres.
And they're free to do so.
Y por cierto,
And by the way, I noticed
que fue una diputada de Morena
was a Morena legislator that proposed the
la multa a los que insultan al
adding
presidente.
to the
Y lo hizo
fine to whomever insult the president. But she did do it in the wrong way.
Pero esa ley
But that law, that request, what has to do or be done with that law is to eliminate that's why Madero was jailed the first time for insulting the authority, and that about the 68 had to do with that. We're gonna revoke it. As well, it needs to be known that it ended up in commissions. It didn't even go to the Senate, but it's something that it doesn't have to do with us, of course. Of course, I'm not asking for people to insult me, of course, but we're not gonna go to trial with anybody or to anybody and take them to a judgment, because there's right to criticism. But in the case of that lawyer there for Genaro Garcia Luna, there we have a point. I'm really analyzing the possibility to denounce, because it's not against Andres Manuel, it's against the President of Mexico. And first, the honesty is what I estimate most important. Second, you can't govern Mexico if there are no moral authority. And third, we cannot be enslaved of any mafias or interest created groups, and much less from external people. So I'm really analyzing the possibility to present a claim for moral damages, and what we obtain is turned into the victims and the families whom lost their lives in the narco trafficking wars. But I'm dealing with that. I'm also looking for a lawyer that has to be from there, from New York, and that has to be honest. That is a person with integrity, so that the denouncement could be made against the lawyer, because he acted in a tendentious way, clear. He was sent for that. He was sent to try to stain our work. And we're going to be clarifying things about that. We're going to go to the deep end of this. Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Liberal, Radio Formula. 3 questions, if you allow me. First one is just about the situation in Genaro Garcia Luna. Now that there's unanimity, 12 people are going to take the decision. Maybe they don't have cell phones, they don't have a way to inform or communicate to them. I would send them a message with the opportunity, with the platform, with the cameras and the microphones, to those 12 people that are going to take the decision when it comes to the trial of Genaro Garcia Luna. That in one end. President, on the realm of security, we've mentioned that it was important that 13,000 members of the National Guard, but it would seem that in some municipalities like Guaymas, the quantity of the Marines, Army are not enough because of the violence. That in fact today is there any change in the strategy, but maybe not in the increment of the members, but the strategy? And primarily I was hearing about a pacification of how to be able to work in peace in Sonora, and tell you there's a new work coming in between the U.S. and Mexico with an economical redirection with the train railways, and somebody manifested against that there's a movement of the train rails, and these rails cross his municipality with the ecological damage that could happen, and that we can hear the people to do a diagnostic and maybe move the railways so they don't cross through that municipality, or is it already been traced in that work? Those three questions. Thank you. Well, those that don't have any phone, I think the citizens that are acting as jury, the only thing that I can tell them is take in account, if they were be able to hear me, is to take in account all that they should have done, or the participation that surely they had U.S. authorities to in this situation, because it can't be possible that they didn't know if there was cooperation. For example, with Garcia Luna, it was shown in Garcia Luna, the operative known as Fast and Furious. It was something that was in convenience in accordance to Mexican and U.S. authorities. This was allowed by the government of the U.S. then, and so that they can take it into account in the moment where they need to resolve that at least there's a recommendation so that it is investigated to whom were or are participating on the end of the U.S. governments in all these actions, if they knew or they didn't know, because it's public domain that there was a stretch relation with the agencies of the U.S. governments. So how is it possible then that there is no information about that? That's not spoke about, and so that the recommendation is being done on that sense, and as well that it is taken into account that in the U.S. it is the consumption of drug use, and with all due respect, they do little to avoid the demand or the increments in the consumption of fentanyl and other drugs. Question is, what are they doing with the young ones? What are they doing to spread out the damage that the drugs cause? How much money is destined for campaigns against the drugs? If in the channels and the radio stations, it's constantly pointing to the damages that is caused. They don't do that. So then, hopefully that there's this recommendation. The second that you're asking about Guaymas, Obregón, we're working on it. There are special attention, it's needed, that there are more members needed. Yes, we're going to do that. We are advancing a lot on that purpose, and it's not something spectacular, but Sonora is not among the 5 states with more homicides. It's in 7th place in national count, starting from where we've been giving more attention to this, and I hope we keep advancing. Yesterday, for example, what we've seen in the morning is what has been reported every day from 6 to 7 in the morning. Hopefully that you have the number of homicides yesterday in the country. This was what happened yesterday. So then, %41% with 61 homicides in 4 entities. Baja California, Guerrero, Chihuahua, and Michoacán. And today, the supervision called my attention in, first of all, Guanajuato. And it's one of the ones that is always up on top. And I celebrate that. And Sonora, 1 yesterday. Hopefully that this continues. We see this every day. In the case of the railways of Nogales, we're going to be arriving there, and they're going to give us the proposal. This is the situation there. So, for decades, since the railway was there in Nogales, from the Porfiriato, this trace was there, and the railways cut that city in half, basically. Not sure if you have a spreadsheet about Nogales, and see the part that is the railways is passing through. And so the population was growing, and the railway as well, with the neoliberal period, privatizing the railway. The passenger trains were ended, and only the cargo freights were there. And that is in a direct line. And now what we're trying to do is that there's a switch so that the train doesn't pass through the city, but there's one. I'm not sure if it's this one, but I'm sorry, but just to be precise, this yellow line is precisely the route of the railway and the train, and you can clearly see how it's cut off in half. What we're looking for is a deviation to this side. So it's a way, and the customs is right here. So then originally it was thought that we can move the aduana, or the customs office, and even when the President Biden came in, I forwarded to him that I wanted him to assist so we can move the customs office to the U.S. side, because it's exclusive motion for the president to be able to change that and switch it from place to place. He said yes, so that the paperwork could be done, of course. But the military engineers, what they are planning is that if it's done, that this change is made, you can find yourself with another railway in the Mexican side, and there wouldn't be a necessity to change the aduana or the customs office and continue. We can avoid that the train could pass through the middle of the city just with the switching to another railway. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. It's possible that this includes municipality land from Imuris, but there's no population. There's no. It would mean that we would need to speak with them, and so they can authorize the right of passage, because Imuris is not there. I know very well that area, Imuris, and it's more to the interior of the states than anything. So we're going to be looking into that. Either way, we're working on it. The engineers are there, and we should be advancing for the right of the railway. Yesterday, I spoke to the municipal presidents. There was this railway trace, a false one, that would put in half the city. It would be absurd that we would be avoiding tearing in half Nogales, and that we could tear in half Imuris. So there was this route of fake. There's nothing to do with the trace that we are visualizing. Thank you. Oh, so it's about that. It's they don't have anything to do, anything better to do. Okay, what do you think if we should end this? There's cold as it is in Tabasco, so. Yes, I went from IFA, International Airport in Mexico City, the new one, because we inaugurated this is good news. There's a way that was inaugurated, and a roadway from Ecatepec to the Felipe Ángeles Airport. They are 14 kilometers of 6 lanes, 3 and 3, 3 one way, 3 the other. 14 kilometers. Freeway, not with a quote or a booth to charge. The communications members say that in those 14 kilometers from Ecatepec to Felipe Ángeles are 9 minutes. Because it's a confined way for 50,000 vehicles every day. And so it's a great work. There was an investment of 7,000 million pesos. So then, this cuts completely from the center of Mexico City, El Zócalo, to the airport. And it could be from 30 to 40 minutes. I'm sorry, 30 to 50 minutes through this way.
corta,
shortway,
moderna,
modern.
pero es probable
But
que
it
los
is
medios
probable that in the media
no hayan sacado nada.
there's nothing from there.
Lo que deben de haber sacado,
What they should
aquí
have
está, mijo,
taken from there
es de que viajé en un avión de la
is
Fuerza
that I
Aérea con el
traveled
general
through a
hacia Hermosillo
Air Force
y
to
salí en
Hermosillo
efecto del
and came
aeropuerto
out
Felipe Ángeles,
effectively from Felipe Ángeles Airport
porque estaba yo ahí
because I was there.
y tenía yo que llegar aquí
And I had to arrive here, and
a una reunión del Banco del
there was
Bienestar.
a reunion for the
Entonces,
Bank of
le
El
pedí
Bienestar,
del aventón
and so I asked a ride
al general
from the general.
y ya me trasladé a Hermosillo.
So I came here to Hermosillo,
Además,
and besides,
quería yo salir del aeropuerto
I
Felipe
wanted
Ángeles
to go out from the Felipe
quería
Ángeles
comprobar
Airport
cómo
because
fue que llegó ahí el avión
I wanted to prove how the
tan
airplane so big
del
arrived there
presidente Biden.
that President Biden
Sí,
brought.
Había,
If there was
existe un cerro ahí que impide que aterricen los
this
aviones y que despeguen los aviones
hill that
y con
impedes
una torre de
the
control
airplanes to
chueca.
arrive, and with a
Entonces,
control tower that
yo
is
dije,
crooked,
voy
supposedly.
ahora,
So I said to myself,
a
well, I'm
intentarlo. Nada más que tengo
gonna
que ir
try
con
it, but
los
only
expertos.
that I have to go with the
Tengo que
experts.
ir con los pilotos de la Fuerza Aérea que
I
ellos
have
ya
to go
saben
with the
cómo
Air Force experts,
darle la vuelta al cerro,
and they know how to do the runaround to the
rodear
hill,
el cerro, ¿no?
give the
Para
hill
no impactarnos
the
con el
turn
cerro.
so that we don't crash into the hill that
Y por
supposedly is
eso
there.
salí. Pero
And that's why I left from
llegamos
there.
aquí,
But we arrived
fíjense,
here. Look,
el nivel
look at the level
de algunos medios de información.
of some
Es
of
una
these
crítica
media.
fraterna,
It's a nice
respetuosa,
criticism,
cariñosa.
respectful, charming.
Sobre eso me preguntaban.
So they were asking me about that.
No me preguntaban sobre la
They weren't
inauguración
asking
de
me
esto.
about the
Es una
inauguration
gran
of
obra.
this, which is a great
So,
work.
oiga,
But they were asking me
salió del
about,
IFA.
hey, so you left from IFA?
Seguro que es
I'm sure
la
that
noticia.
it's the news that
Entonces, por
is
eso
going to be hitting us today.
estoy recreando esto del cerro, ¿no?
I'm
De la
recreating this about the hill they mentioned and
torre
the crooked tower.
ladeada. La verdad que es un gran aeropuerto.
The truth is that it's one of the greatest
Y esto
airports,
va a ayudar muchísimo.
and this is going to help a lot
Porque
because
acorta. Y así
it
como esta vía,
shortens. And just as this
estamos
way,
construyendo un tren
we are constructing a train as well
que va del aeropuerto
that is from the airport
a Lechería.
to
Y
Lechería,
ahí hay una conexión con un tren
and
que
you can
llega
see a
a
connection with a
Buenavista,
train that gets to Buena
hasta el
Vista
centro de la ciudad.
from the
Se van
center of the
a hacer
city.
también 40,
There's going to
45
be
minutos
40,
en tren.
45 minutes in train.
Vamos a terminar el tren
We're going to finish up the
a
train
finales de este año.
at the end of
Este
this year.
En la conferencia,
This Monday, for example,
todos los que tienen que ver con estas
in
realidades
the daily
van a
conference,
informar,
everybody that has to do with
porque
these
esto no se conoce.
ways are going to inform us
Además,
because this is not known.
Los técnicos
And
hablan
technicians
de
speak about
una autopista de
a
Puente de Fierro,
freeway
de
of
Puente de
a
Fierro,
metal bridge
Puente de Fierro de Catepec
from Ecatepec
al
to
aeropuerto.
the
Y no
airport.
tienen una idea, yo no
And they don't
tenía
have an
idea clara
idea. I didn't have it
cuál era el
clear
trazo.
to what
Entonces había
part
que
they were going to go
recorrer.
through. And yesterday I
Pues
went
es de
through it.
Catepec, del centro de
So it's
Catepec,
from Ecatepec Center,
del sitio donde asesinaron al siervo de la nación, a José María Morelos, que ahí hay un puente antiguo
and that
de
there's an
fierro.
old bridge, a metal bridge. And the people from that area, of course, they know that it's the metal bridge, as they call it. But in general, it's not known. But that way is going to allow us to, if it comes out from the Mexico City area through Indios Verdes, and then immediately you get to this way where is 14 kilometers without paying, of course. It's not a chargeable way. So it was a really good work that we inaugurated. As well, let you know that Felipe Ángeles Airport is among the best. It was a great decision to build it, because if the airport would have been done that they had an idea programmed to do in Texcoco, we'd be constructing it still. They had estimated a spending budget of 300,000 million pesos, and the current airport had to be closed, and the military airport of Santa Lucia would have been closed. But the worst of it all is that if they wanted to construct the Texcoco airport, it's the lowest and most fungal with a lot of swamp areas. It sinks in from 25 to 30 centimeters per year.
Tenemos el problema de la Terminal 2 del aeropuerto de la ciudad, que se construyó hace
We have that same problem with the airport
15 años.
That was constructed 13, 14 years ago. And then already you can see these sinkholes, and we have to be reinforcing that next to the City of Mexico airport, because it's a low section where the airport was constructed. In Felipe Ángeles is a firm location. And I was mentioning something yesterday that was really important. The great city of Mexico only has possibility to grow towards the north, precisely towards where the Felipe Ángeles Airport is, towards Hidalgo. Because that's where you can find land and you can find water. And that's something as well that it's extraordinary.
¿Por qué se tiene agua en esa zona de Hidalgo?
Why is there water on that zone? Because the Great Canal of the water opening from Porfirio Díaz to avoid the inundation of the city, that way was open.
Acuérdense que Tenochtitlan era un lago, una ciudad en un lago. Entonces se tomó la decisión.
So the decision was taken to do this great canal, drain canal. This English constructor Pearson, I think it was the preferred contractor of Porfirio Díaz, was the one that made the Puerto of Veracruz, Port of Coatzacoalcos. He was the owner of El Águila Oil Company. And so the Grand Canal is constructed, and of course before the deep drainage, and all those waters go towards Hidalgo. And nature, of course, with the sense of time, does its work through filtration, and is cleaning the ways, and you are creating this water stank, like a location in Hidalgo, And now we got water there.
Y se han hecho estudios y es agua buena.
And it's a very good water.
Estamos hablando
We're talking about
de lo que hizo la naturaleza en
of what
120,
nature did in 120,
140 años.
140 years.
Entonces, la posibilidad de crecimiento
And
de
the
la gran
possibility
ciudad
of
de México
growth of the
está
great city
hacia
of
el norte.
Mexico is
Lo
towards
que
the
iban a
north.
hacer de
What was
construir
going to
el
be
aeropuerto de
done
Texcoco,
to
pues
construct
era
in Texcoco
saturar
was
más
to
una zona,
saturate a zone,
la zona oriente de la ciudad,
the
que ya está sobrepoblada,
eastern side of the
donde
city
no
that
hay
is overpopulated,
servicios
where there's no services,
y sobre todo no hay
and of
agua.
course there's no water.
Entonces fue muy buena decisión la que se tomó. Y ahora sí ya nos vamos a
So it
ir
was a
a
great decision. So
desayunar.
that was it's time for us to go get some breakfast.
Tú, una compañera.
You,
De aquí,
okay, you're from here, right?
Buenos días, presidente. Jessica Ojeda del
Good morning,
Imparcial.
Mr. President
Ya
Imparcial.
explicó ahorita la inversión que
You
será,
explained the
que hará el
investment
gobierno federal
that
en obras en
is
Sonora,
to guide the
pero puede
government in
precisar un
Sonora,
poquito
but can
más
you
los
specify
avances
a
de la
little more
empresa
on the
Litio
advancements
MX
of
y
Litio
inversión
MX
específica
and
que
the
plantea el
investment,
gobierno
specific
federal
investment
para
that
aprovechar
the
el litio?
federal government is going to do to appreciate and take advantage of the lithium?
es
Well,
emitir
first,
un decreto
today we need to
para que
spread out a
todos los
decree
estudios
so that all the
geológicos
studies, biological
que se han
studies
hecho en
that are
Sonora
being
y
done
en
in
otras
Sonora
partes del
and
país,
other parts of the country
donde se constata de que
where
hay
it
litio,
is a fact
todas
that we have
esas
lithium,
áreas
all these areas
queden reservadas
stay reserved or are
para
reserved
el
by
uso
and for
exclusivo
the
de
exclusive
la nación.
use of the nation.
El litio ya es un mineral estratégico
Lithium
de la
is a
nación.
strategic
Es lo que
mineral
vamos
of the nation, and
primero a
that's
hacer.
what we're going to do
Y
first.
ya se está trabajando también
As well, we are starting to work
con un plan para la extracción
with a plan for the
del procesamiento de litio.
extraction, the processing of
Van a
lithium,
haber inversiones,
and there's going to be some investments
hacia
shortly
el futuro.
in the
Pero
future.
actualmente estamos
But at this
todavía
time, we are
en
still
lo que tiene que ver con la
in what has to
concesión
do with the concessions
de las áreas
of the areas
para la explotación
for the
de
exploitation
litio.
of lithium.
Está trabajando con AZTECRON,
We're working with CONACYT
investigación
in
y
investigating
otras instituciones
and other
para
institutions
tener
so
propuestas
that we have
para la
propositions
explotación de este mineral.
to be able to exploit this mineral for the
Tras el
country.
reciente aumento que se autorizó en las tarifas de las casetas de peaje, que entra en vigor ahora el 1 de marzo, diversas
So on this 1st of
organizaciones como la
March,
CEMIC,
a lot of
Banacope, Index,
organizations,
de
Danacope,
transportistas
Index,
también aquí en el estado,
transporting
pues han
companies in the
manifestado
state
su
have
rechazo
manifested
porque
their
señalan que esto va a
rejection
afectar en la
because they say this
economía
is
y
going to
va a
affect the
tener un
economy
impacto,
and it's going to have an
en todos
impact
los gastos que ellos
in
realicen.
all the
¿Le han
investments that
planteado
they're
usted la
and
situación?
payments that they're doing.
¿O qué les va de, o qué
Can
les
you
diría a los
replant the
sonorenses
situation,
respecto a
or what would
caso?
you say
Gracias.
these
Es muy
Sonorenses
importante su
about this?
pregunta,
Well, it's really important your question
porque
here because,
en efecto,
in a
en
matter of
algunos
fact,
casos
in some cases,
hubieron incrementos altísimos al pago de peaje en autopistas
and in the
que
payment
están
of
concesionadas.
the roads that are concessioned,
Se corrigió. O sea,
and this
el
was
incremento
corrected.
es
The increment is
a la
equivalent
inflación.
to the inflation,
Nada
of
más.
course, and just that, 7.8%
Es que habían autopistas
is that
que
there
habían
was this
incrementado
roadways that
hasta
had
50%.
incremented up to 50%.
Entonces,
And
si me pregunta,
if you're asking,
es importante que se sepa
it's important to know
que ya la Secretaría de Comunicaciones
that Secretary of
resolvió
Communications
que el
has
incremento
resolved
no
the
puede
increments
ser más del 7.8, el equivalente a
more
la inflación.
than 7.8, inequivalent to the
Esto
inflation.
lo manejaron nuestros adversarios desde la semana pasada, porque sí hubieron algunas autopistas, Nayarit,
So there were some roads in
Sinaloa,
Nayarit, for example, in
y
Sinaloa.
aquí en Sonora, y ya se corrigió.
I'm not sure in Sinaloa.
Ya
And it
está
was
resuelto.
corrected, and it's resolved.
Aprovecho también para recordarle a
And
nuestros adversarios
I take advantage to remind our adversaries
cumplimos
that we
o que estamos
complied,
cumpliendo el
or that we are
compromiso de no
complying
aumentar el
with
precio de
the
las gasolinas,
compromise to not add
que ya no
the
hay
pricing
como
of the gas,
era
and
con
that there
ellos,
isn't
como
like it was
sucedía con
before,
ellos,
as it happened
gasolinazos.
before, that these gasolinazos
Porque
happen,
a veces se les olvida,
because sometimes they forget.
ya no hay gasolinazos. Que no ha aumentado el precio de la gasolina, que al contrario ha disminuido.
In the contrary, it has minimized in real terms the pricing of the fuels. And remind, in the case of Sonora, and in the frontier cities, that the price is less than in the rest of the country, because we have this plan of assistance in the entire frontier. There's less, and this is against the taxes, and the combustible pricing is lower.
La crisis que se desató a partir de la guerra de Ucrania y Rusia, aumentaron mucho los precios de los combustibles.
There's a lot of increments on the pricing as well in the U.S.
Más caros los combustibles en Estados Unidos que en México. Venían a cargar gasolina a nuestro país.
There was fuel being unloaded because we sustained back then the pricing. Gasoline, diesel, gas, and electricity.
Pero aún más.
But furthermore,
adversarios, para que sean equilibrados.
But so that there can be equivalency in their proposals. The minimum wage has been added, 90% in real terms.
Más del doble. Eso ellos no lo hicieron. Al contrario, durante el tiempo que estuvieron ellos, los neoliberales o neoporfiristas en el gobierno,
when these neoporfiristas were in the government, the minimum salary lost its power of acquisition.
Le voy a poner un ejemplo. Antes del periodo neoliberal, a principios de los 80, con un salario mínimo se podían comprar.
With a minimum salary, you could purchase 50 kilos
Cuando nosotros llegamos al gobierno,
of tortilla, for example, and when we arrived with a minimum salary,
5 kilos de tortilla. Nada más para tener una
you
idea
could buy 5 kilos of
de lo que
tortilla.
significó la política neoliberal. Ahora,
The neopolitical
ya se pueden comprar
realm,
10 kilos,
aside from that, you can buy 10 kilos now,
de 5 a 10
from 5 to 10
kilos de tortilla, de 5 cuando llegamos a 10 kilos ahora. Entonces, sí, vamos avanzando y esas cámaras, pues antes no hablaban, parecían momias los directivos, como algunos medios de comunicación, no criticaban nada, todo era obedecer y callar, quemar incienso a los gobernantes.
It all had to do with burning incense now,
Críticos
and they have become so critical of all.
Pero eso es la democracia y que viva la libertad.
And that's democracy, and so long live liberty. And what do you think about this situation of Fernando Valenzuela and Héctor Espino de Nuevo Sonora?
Claro que sí.
Fernando
es el mejor
is the best,
beisbolista, el mejor
the best
pelotero
baseball player ever,
hasta ahora,
up to
en la
now,
historia de México.
in the history of Mexico.
Es lo mejor.
It's the best.
Imagínense lo que significa que el Dodger haya decidido quitar su número, el 34, con un homenaje permanente a este tremendo pitcher, caballo, como
This,
en el béisbol.
as you say it in baseball,
sonorense, gente buena,
good people,
sencilla, sí,
simple,
comunidad indígena.
of course,
Maya.
of this Mayan communities.
No, claro que sí. Yo pensaba que se llamaba Héctor Espino porque ahí sí. Sí, porque Héctor Espino, tremendo.
Héctor Espino is a real insult.
Le gustaba mucho la
That's because
carne de Sonora,
the
Chihuahua,
meat of Sonora,
la carne seca y otras cosas. Y no quiso estar allá en Estados Unidos.
and he didn't want to be in the U.S.,
Pero tenía con qué.
but he had
Un gran
the means.
Pelotero, bateador. Ahora estuve pendiente porque se quedó en la final Naranjeros.
And Naranjeros were on the finals with Wasabe.
Y aquí perdieron en la final con Wasabe y ya se quedó Wasabe con Mochis.
And Wasabe stayed with Mochis,
ganó Mochis.
and Mochis won.
Pero en el caso de
And in the case of Hermosillo,
un pitcher que joven,
there's this pitcher, Asano Chicho Rios, from the pitcher that more strikeouts managed to get in the Mexican League. So then the son was pitching here as well, and he's been hired for the big leagues. And so we need to back him up because the World Series is coming up, and the Mexican team, baseball team, is very reinforced with very good ball players, and of course, hopefully that we do well in the World Series for Mexicans. There's some games that are going to be played here close in Arizona. So it's not going to be too far for you guys here. I think in Phoenix. Yeah, it's a little far, but relatively far. But I'm happy so we can give some spaces to the airport. Do you have a sports section? It's because I have a very nice claim for the sports sections overall in the television. They don't know. I'm not sure if now, but before. And now, after the news, let's go to the news sports section. Instead of vamos, let's go to the football, soccer, because the sports section was all about soccer. And all sports are important. Soccer is important, really important, but basketball is, baseball, and athleticism. We're going to go to Nogales, the land of Ana Guevara. Just imagine what was Ana Guevara as an athlete from Sonora,
tantas cosas importantes
and so many
que ha
important
aportado
things
Sonora
that
al
Sonora
deporte,
has
¿no? Nacional.
apported to
Bueno, ahora sí
the
nos
national
vamos.
sports. Well, we're going to leave now for sure. Thank you all.
Pendiente.
We're going to be pending. And thank you very much, everybody. I know this was a long one, and we started late, by the way. So, thank you very much once again for being here. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Sé que se tardó esto un poquito más de lo usual, pero vamos a estar siempre con ustedes. We're going to be with you always. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you. We'll see you next week on Monday with the next Mañanera of Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador. If you need or have any questions for any other programs that you would like to hear in Spanish to English, please let me know, and we'll be glad to take care of those. Have a great day. Thank you so much. My name is Angel Ramirez, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye now.